Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we are moving on to the second and final part of the Barbarian Subclass Roleplay tier list specifically.
Yes.
So if you're new to our ratings and reviews for the roleplay department, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about class fantasy history, lore, background, that's on you, can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities and how they improve on the base class in those roleplay scenarios.
If it's not in the book, it doesn't count it.
So basically, to summarize everything, we're focusing on the exploration and social interaction side of the abilities, and how we would rate those in a tier list based only on those things, not factoring in combat abilities and things like that.
And not comparing it to Bard, for example, because you don't do that.
Right.
Because all these would be like C and D tier, and almost all Bards are going to be A and S tier just because it's Bard.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you have to go up based on the base class.
Yes. So, all of that being said, we do have a new round of giveaways for the Players Bundle, so make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below to be entered in that.
Indeed.
But we'll just jump straight into this. First up is the Ancestral Guardian. So what we're going to do, almost forgot. We're both going to give our opinions and ratings based on our thoughts, because we've not discussed this prior hand, other than obviously reviewing all the subclasses. We did that long ago.
But with the fresh, we did not have a fresh new discussion about where did you rate it? Where did you rate it? This is going to be completely...
Yes.
We tell each other where each other's wrong.
Yes, and then you're going to accept our opinions as the best opinions,
Yes.
and then you can just know that we're right and you're wrong if you disagree with us. So, continue. Alex.
Yes. Ancestral Guardian. So, use the knowledge of your ancestors to do really fun things. Starting with your Ancestral Protectors at 3. Basically, it forces people to attack you because they get disadvantage if they hit somebody else. That's only useful in combat. Spirit Shield reduces damage. That's only useful in combat. Okay. Alright. Okay, now we're going to actually have a little bit of fun. At 10, you consult the spirits. You can cast Augury or the Clairvoyant spell. Barbarians casting spells. Who knew? Without using a spell slot, and more importantly, material components. There's no weird problem with barbarians having to carry around that one little pouch for opponents or whatever. And it also says rather than creating a spherical sensor for the clairvoyance, summons one of the ancestors to the chosen location. So you speak to them, they give you information instead of the ball or whatever. So thematically and flavor fits in better, which I like. It does specify wisdom as your spellcasting abilities. It's glad it's not intelligence, so it'd be really bad for a barbarian. And finally, at the 14th level, your ancestral spirit grows powerful enough to retaliate and let you do extra damage. I fought back and forth really hard on this one because this is my favorite Barbarian subclass in terms of flavor and the fact that it is unique. It lets you do some things. It lets you give a use for bonus action and all the other great things about it. However, it's outside of flavor, really the only thing you're getting for your RP side of things is the Consult the Spirits. It does give you some very interesting things. So with all that included, I put it in the C tier.
Okay, fair. I will make a few side comments on here before I spoil what I did. So you kind of said that that's the only thing, but I have some thoughts on that. With the Ancestral Protector, it says when you're raging, the Spectral Warriors appear when you enter the rage. So, I mean, technically, if you wanted to do an intimidation or something, you could rage and you see all these ghosties appear. There could be some niche use on there if the DM allows. I mean, you're burning one of your class abilities to do so. I mean, I'd probably allow maybe an advantage or a bonus or lower the DC or something like that.
Sure. In
that circumstance. And also the Spirit Shield kind of goes back to, in the other video they talked about one of the subclasses. Don't want to spoil it, so you can go back and watch that. About preventing damage could be used in some niche circumstances because something's going to be taking damage. You can reduce the damage. It doesn't say from an attack. It just says another creature you can see takes damage.
Yes.
So if someone opens up a mimic trap or something, or something is rigged, or something falls on somebody, you could use your spirits
they trip and snap their ankle.
Right. If we're going to fall into a spike trap pit, we got there somehow.
Pain is ensued.
So there is some prevention of damage in the exploration department potentially. So that is a very niche use as well. But all that being said, it is the main thing is the augury or clairvoyance, and that really is what's going to be the bread and butter of this. So I actually put it in the C tier as well because
I initially did B because I so much loved the flavor that I had to take my own bias of how much I like the subclass and the way it's designed out. I was like, no.
I do agree though. The flavor of it is great, but looking purely at the mechanics and abilities, there's not really a whole lot helping you. There are some niche things there, but again, it is what it is on there. So then we get on to the next subclass, which is the Battlerager from Sword Coast, Adventurous Guide to Everything. First of all, restriction, dwarves only. So keep that in mind.
Tell you what, if anybody in your group decides they want to torture themselves enough and they're enough of a masochist to play this subclass, you let them play it anyway.
Yeah, we have very strong opinions on this subclass, just in general. But Battlerager, if you're unfamiliar, you have your
just remain unfamiliar. I'm done. I promise. At this point.
You can wear special spiked armor. Ooh. And you can make extra bonus action melee attack with your armor spikes to deal extra damage. Obviously, that's a combat thing.
Yep.
Also, there's a thing with grappling with the attack action. Also a combat thing.
Yep.
Then at level 6, you have your Reckless Abandon. While raging, you gain temporary hit points when using Reckless Attack. That's combat.
Okay.
And then level 10, we have you can dash as a bonus action while raging. There's some niche use of that. If you're in chase, you're trying to
once you get to your relentless rage, where you can just rage all the time. Otherwise, are you really going to rage for 6 seconds just so you can dash? That often has been used to your rage.
But I mean, level 10, you get the dash as bonus action. Level 11, you get relentless rage. You don't really have to wait that long.
True.
And then level 14, Spike Retribution. When somebody hits you, they take some damage, which is all combat. So, looking at this, you can probably get a good gauge as to where we're going to throw this in the roleplay department, let alone any other department, because it's pretty lackluster all around. So I threw this in the S tier. No, just kidding. Definitely in the D tier, bottom of the board.
I really wanted, just for the sake of proving the point and really putting like the flag on that hill and not dying on the hill but killing the hill, I really wanted to put this like just in an F tier all by itself. Like just,
I mean, that's fair.
Like I don't care if everything else is just as low scored on the RP side of things. Just go away. But D tier, because the only thing you can even make an argument for is 10 when you can dash as a bonus action. So like if you're chasing something or you really want to cover a lot of ground, you can dash as a bonus action. You can just run and run and run and run and run. Especially once you have relentless rage and not have to worry about that cost. That's literally it. There's no other abilities or even specifically geared toward RP or lean heavier to RP. It's just that one.
You know, I almost feel like, I think we'll do it. We'll do S, A, B, C, D, and then
Battlerager tier.
It's its own special tier just for that one. So we'll adjust that to the Battlerager tier.
I'm just imagining it being on the screen, like just go down there. Just go down there. Go in the basement where you belong. After that everything gets a little bit more sane and not cringy and painful. We're going to go back over to Xanathar's Guide for the last two, of course, starting with the Storm Herald. And this one is, and I made the mention in our other Barbarian video about there not being like subclasses within subclasses all that often, but Barbarian is the one that seems to do it exclusively.
Yeah, to an extent.
But the same thing exists here with the Storm Herald. You pick your Storm aura, you choose which, desert, sea, or tundra, and your aura's got a different effect based on what you do. Desert does damage, so that's combat related. Sea, dexterity saving throw. I was like C. Is like, why did I say C? Because it actually is C. Okay. Dexterity saving throw, they take lightning damage. Alright, that's combat next. Tundra gives you temporary hit points, and it's 2 temporary hit points. Yes, they all scale, but it scales to 6. Okay, I'm trying to... Okay, we're focus on the RP. Focus on the RP. All those are damage. You can maybe argue the RP. You can get the temp HP out of combat. Again, because if you want to do something stupid, like Jameson likes to say, to keep it short. Okay, Storm Soul. Resistance to fire damage. Unless you're doing stupid things with fire in RP settings, that's basically combat. Sea, resistance to lightning damage. Again, basically combat, but you can breathe underwater and a swimming speed of 30 feet, so there's a little bit of combat love. Combat love. RP love. Wow. I'm just fried today. Tundra, resistance to cold damage, and you, as an action, you can touch water, turn a 5-foot cube into ice, which melts after 1 minute. The action fails if the creature's in the cube, so that's definitely RP. Don't know what the uses for that's going to be, but that second half of that is definitely RP.
And the extreme cold too. Don't forget.
Oh yes, and you don't suffer the side effects of extreme cold, so that's going to be could be very effective if you are in a campaign that you deal with extreme cold, but if not, it's never going to come up. Finally, at 10, each creature of your choice has damage resistance to the game of your Storm Soul. So if you take Tundra, everybody gets the cold resistance. So that's, again, basically just going to be combat related, taking that damage 9 times out of 10, or better than that. And then finally, at the end, with your Raging Storm, it's more combat-based stuff. It's, avoiding damage, taking extra damage, it's mostly combat stuff with some damage resistance, swimming speed potentially if you choose that. So again, there's some choices there. I put it in C tier because there are choices, which I do like the fact that there are choices, but at your level 3 choice, there's not really any RP, and at 10, there's not really any RP. So most of your RPs come in from 6, and that's if you choose. In C, you're getting the best RP, because really all you're getting out of fire is extreme heat effect,
right,
and Tundra extreme cold, and be able to just to turn water into ice. Okay.
Yeah. Looking at it all again, too, from my perspective, I kind of went around the same thought process. The only thing that I really dislike about this is you can't swap them.
Yep.
And when you choose one, you get all 3 of the same.
Yeah.
Like with Totem, you can mix and match. You don't have to go bear, bear, bear. You can go...
You're going to go bear, bear, bear most of the time.
But you can go like bear, eagle, wolf, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And this one's like you get desert, desert, desert.
CCC, Tundra, Tundra, Tundra.
So based on that, and even with that, even as I was saying, really the only thing you're going to get actual RP stuff is going to be at the 6th level. And if you don't pick C, you're just going to get extreme hot or extreme cold, which, depending on campaign, could be completely worthless. And maybe you want to take desert for its other stuff, but then that makes your RP thing completely worthless. Or maybe you want to take Tundra for the temp HP for some reason.
That caps at 6.
Yeah, but it does give it to multiple people, potentially, on their...
It's only 6.
But, at level 20, it's 6 temp HP to each creature in your aura or whatever. So, I actually have this in the D tier. I dropped it down.
Wow.
Just because I so dislike the fact that you're locked into your choice.
Fair. And
even with that, it's going to be lackluster. The C is probably the most RP one, but then your other things are basically terrible.
Yep.
So you're locked in there.
Yeah, you can talk me into the D tier on this one. It's one of those things like I'm probably overvaluing the fact that there is a choice, but once you pick that choice, you're pretty well hung. And if you don't know what your environment's going to be in your campaign ahead of time, that really might destroy what little RP value you get out of this subclass.
Right. Now, for example, if you're playing like Icewind Dale and you know you're going to be in extreme cold, then maybe it makes sense and maybe it is more in line, maybe getting on the fringe of the C tier. Yeah. But I think just as a general, it's just very lackluster all around.
It is. It's one of those things that I actually read through, and because I had Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I didn't own Sword Coast like Jameson has. So I thought that Storm Herald was the worst barbarian subclass that existed until I read Battlerager. But yeah, I'm totally. First time we've disagreed is dropping down to the D tier. Is not a good thing. Yeah. We're not arguing over. It's like, no, this is better than you think. It's like, why are you sure? It's like, no, it's just bad.
Yeah. Well, so we'll knock it down to the D tier slightly. But still above Battlerager.
Yeah, because Battlerager's in its own tier at the bottom. It's Battlerager.
I don't even know if I'll just leave Battlerager off the thing entirely. Like, just have its...
it'll poke his head in there, and then just go
the very sliver of the top.
Fine print. Battlerager is also a thing.
Yeah. So, lastly, that brings us to the final Barbarian subclass, which is the Path of the Zealot. A fan favorite, I think, for a lot of people on this one. But we're talking about roleplay today, so we'll see how this fares out.
RP.
looking at this, level 3, you're going to get your Divine Fury while raging. First get your hit, take extra damage. Sure, that's combat.
Yeah, that's combat.
All right. Warrior of the Gods, also level 3. You're marked for endless battle. Spells like Raise Dead, effect restoring your life, but not undeath. Caster doesn't need material components, so it's very niche maybe in the RP side, because if you're having to Raise Dead or, Revivify or something, it's going to happen immediately after a combat.
Yep.
So you're not just going to go to 0 for no reason.
Yep.
Most of the time. I mean, there are, like, if there's a big trap or something you fall off a cliff or whatever, I mean, that's possible for exploration. But that's more on the niche side. And it's not even for you. It would be for the caster to use, for you to not use material components, which, is that really RP? More gray area on there. And then level 6, we have, if you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it. Definitely have some RP potential on there. Most times saving throws are going to be happening in combat, but there are certain traps or effects where someone's maybe trying to charm you or something like that it could definitely come into play.
Like mind control type stuff, detect thoughts, kind of stuff like that. It would be saving throws against.
But again, here, the only thing with this one is it's while you're raging. So until you get Relentless Rage, it's going to have diminished use on there for sure.
Yep.
Level 10, bonus action, release a battle cry, giving people advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. The saving throws part kind of saves it for RP, but again, that's way more on the niche side. Usually, saving throws are going to fall into combat. It's unless there's some kind of trap or something like that.
Yep.
Most of the time. And then, of course, the reason why people pick this subclass in the first place for most people is Rage Beyond Death. You basically can't die, and when you do die, you don't die. So
wait, so do you die or do you not die?
You die, but you keep going, and so you don't die.
But you died.
It's a live. Don't think about it too hard.
Okay.
But you do die if
do I get to keep smashing things?
Yes.
I'm game. I'm good. Let's go.
But of course, if your rage ends, then you die.
You die.
So
you die, but you don't die, but then you die. Got it.
Yeah, right. But you can heal yourself, so someone can heal you.
You're a barbarian. You're not healing yourself.
You're very difficult to kill, I should say that. So all of that being said, in the roleplay department, not really a whole lot going on there. Again, the battle cry, super niche use. The fanatical focus to reroll, super niche. Being unkillable and no components for revivify and stuff like that is definitely niche. So it's just niche across the board.
Yep.
So I actually threw this in the C tier just because there's so much situational use for the roleplay that doesn't really make sense to push it up for me.
Yeah, and I waffled a long time on this one because, again, I had to think, just the same thing I had with Ancestral Guardians, like there's a lot of interesting flavor there. And I have to watch myself and putting too much flavor in the way I score things like that. So really trying to focus on mechanically what this adds. That I also ended up in the C tier because again, like if the niche stuff comes up more often, then it could be higher, or it could be lower if the niche stuff just never comes up. And it falls under that scary category that I have with like Undying Warlock and things like that, where if some of the stuff you get only triggers if you are going to go unconscious or if you've died,
right?
Which you hope never happens. So that is one of those little sore spots I have for abilities that you hope you don't have to use one of your abilities. I don't like that.
Yeah, it always feels bad to not want your ability to trigger.
Yeah, I don't want to use my ability. What do you mean? Because it means I've died.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all of the Barbarian subclasses. A review for today. We have the Ancestral and Zealot in C tier, the Storm Herald in D tier, and Battlerager and its lonesome beneath the world. And also, make sure you check out the other video for the rest of them. But for the in-depth detail as to how we got to those, but Totem did end up in A, Wild Magic in B, Berserker and Beast in C. So we got a nice spread, everything. As we mentioned in the last video, the Barbarian just in general has less roleplay focus than some of the other classes and subclasses get. So yeah, that's all guys for today. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when our new videos are coming out. Let us know in the comments down below why we're right and you're wrong. And as always, thanks for watching.